Welcome back to the channel, my dear fellows. Imagine holding in your hand a tiny piece of history that was once everyday pocket change, a humble copper-plated steel coin that was used to buy gum, pay a phone booth fee, and maybe even tucked into a savings jar for many years. Now imagine that this same penny, the 1975 D Lincoln 1 cent, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of times more than its original 1 cent face value because of subtle quirks, mint marks, errors, and manufacturing mysteries that set it apart from ordinary coins. What makes this seemingly common coin so fascinating to collectors? Why do numismatists study every detail of its strike, surface, mint mark and luster? Today we will take a deep dive into the history, error varieties, minting processes, collecting trends, and current market value of the Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint in 1975, with a special focus on those examples that differ from what most people see in change. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since its first issue in 1909. Honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a striking profile of Lincoln facing right, a departure from the more allegorical or classical imagery used on earlier denominations. The cent was intended from the beginning to be both everyday money and a lasting tribute to the beloved president. Initially struck in bronze, the small 1 cent piece was affordable to produce and quickly became the most widely used coin in everyday transactions. Over the decades, design changes were modest. The wheat ears on the reverse from 1909 to 1958 gave way to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, commemorating the 150th anniversary of his birth. But throughout, the Lincoln cent remained deeply familiar to generations of Americans. By 1975, the Lincoln cent was well established in its memorial reverse form, and millions of these coins were struck every year to meet the needs of commerce. At the Denver Mint, responsible for a large share of the nation's coin output, technicians, engravers, press operators and quality control teams worked tirelessly to produce business strike cents that would quickly enter circulation. In ordinary years, the typical collector or casual observer would never know the difference between millions of identical cents. They looked like change from the pocket, indistinguishable and overlooked. Yet within those large mintage runs, small anomalies occasionally occurred. Dies would suffer wear or become damaged, planchets might be imperfect, mint marks could be misplaced, and presses might operate at slightly different pressures. These small deviations could produce coins that, while still valid legal tender, were unusual enough to garner interest from collectors and numismatic experts. The 1975 D Lincoln cent is one such coin where collectors pay attention to subtle differences because they can have a direct impact on market value. The D mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver facility, and though most of these cents are common, some examples exhibit rare characteristics that make them valuable. To understand why, we first need to consider how coins are made and what kinds of errors can occur during the minting process. In the mid-1970s, Lincoln cents were struck on presses using dies that had been specially prepared with the Lincoln design. Each die pair, one obverse and one reverse, was essentially identical at the outset. The planchets, or blank metal discs, were punched from long sheets of copper-plated zinc. In 1974, the U.S. Mint changed the composition of the cent from primarily bronze to a core of zinc with only a thin copper plating. This change was driven by rising copper costs and fundamentally altered the physical nature of the coin. The new copper-plated zinc cents were more prone to certain types of errors, including plating flaws, edge exposures, and in rare cases, planchets that were improperly coated or missing plating almost entirely. When a planchet was fed into the press, the dies struck it with tremendous force, imprinting the design onto each surface. During this intense moment, tiny imperfections could lead to dramatic results. If a planchet was improperly prepared, it might have lamination issues, cracks, clipped planchet shapes, or even be struck on the wrong metal. Mint mark placement could vary slightly, leading to noticeable doubling or misalignment. Dies themselves could chip, crack or develop foreign material stuck in the engraving, creating raised lines or bulges on the coin surface. Many of these anomalies are what elevate a common face value coin into something of numismatic interest. The most frequently cited variation among the 1975 D Lincoln cents is what collectors refer to as the D over horizontal D, or repunched mint mark, variety. This occurs when the mint mark on the die was punched more than once, slightly off from its original placement. The result is that on the struck coin, the D appears to have doubled or shows remnants of an earlier impression. Some varieties are subtle and visible only under magnification, while others are bold enough to be seen with the naked eye. Because these repunched mint mark varieties do not appear on every 1975D cent, they have become sought after by specialists who track specific die pairs and combinations. Another category that drives value is the presence of die cracks and die breaks. Over time, the steel dies used in coining would develop small cracks due to the immense pressures involved. As these cracks expanded, the raised metal in the die surface would transfer these imperfections to the coins being struck. On a 1975D cent, a die crack might appear as a raised line running somewhere across Lincoln's shoulder, the date, or the reverse fields. When these cracks are substantial and consistent across a run of coins, collectors often classify them as specific error types and assign them catalog numbers. The rarer and more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. Planchet errors are another source of intrigue for Lincoln cent collectors. In some cases, a planchet might slip into the press without the proper copper plating adhered to the zinc core. In these so-called zinc cent errors, the coin may appear silvery or gray rather than the typical copper color, and the surface texture may look rough or matte. Because the U.S. Mint did not officially produce a silver-colored cent in 1975, these zinc error cents are instantly noticeable and can command significant attention at shows and auctions. It's important to note, however, that many plated off or heavily worn cents found in circulation can look similar without being true mint errors. Serious buyers always verify authenticity before assigning significant value. Other planchet issues might include clipped planchets where the blank disc was not fully punched and retains a curved missing portion, lamination splits where the metal layers separate, or even coins struck on foreign planchets or leftover planchets of different composition. Each of these varieties is catalogued and valued differently, and experienced collectors know that specific examples of these error coins can sell for much more than their face value. In addition to the physical anomalies, the condition of the coin dramatically affects its worth. A 1975D Lincoln cent in heavily circulated condition, with worn surfaces and indistinct details, is a common coin with very little numismatic premium. Most of these pennies still in circulation today trade for face value and are collected only by those seeking large quantities of dates and mint marks. But when the same coin is found in uncirculated condition with full mint luster, crisp details, and no significant marks or wear, it takes on collector value. Grading services such as PCGS and NGC assign numerical grades, from 1 to 70, with uncirculated specimens typically in the 60s or high 50s. A straight-graded MS-66 or MS-67 1975D Lincoln cent can fetch significant sums simply because collectors want pristine examples of all major mint issues. If that same clean example also shows a rare error like a repunched mint mark, the value can multiply significantly. Beyond mint state grades, there are proof-like and cameo details that can raise interest. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors with polished dies and planchets, and though genuine proofs of this date and denomination are rare or not officially issued from Denver, some business strikes can exhibit proof like mirrors on the fields and frosted devices due to die polishing. These atypical features attract specialist collectors who focus on varieties. Over the decades, price guides and auction records have solidified the understanding of current market values for these coins. A typical 1975D Lincoln cent without any error or in circulated condition might be worth only its face value or a modest amount to date and mint collectors. Uncirculated examples with higher grades can sell for a few dollars to perhaps tens of dollars depending on eye appeal and market demand. Examples with strong repunched mint marks, recognized die cracks, or dramatic planchet errors can range into the hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and desirability. Collectors and dealers frequently debate which varieties are worth a premium and which are overhyped. Serious numismatists consult detailed die variety guides, auction archives, and third-party grading populations to determine relative scarcity. For example, a well-defined repunched D mint mark variety that occurs on only a handful of dies might have a relatively low population in high grades and therefore command a premium. Conversely, a minor die crack that appears on many thousands of coins with minimal visual impact might not significantly change value. Throughout the years, the hobby has seen cases where a newly documented variety of the 1975D cent was discovered by an observant collector. These discoveries are often shared in numismatic publications and online forums, sparking increased interest and leading to further study. When multiple collectors begin to find similar examples, the variety may be catalogued, illustrated, and eventually officially recognized by major numismatic references. This process deepens our understanding of the minting practices and quality control issues of the time. The economic backdrop of the mid-1970s also adds context to the story of this coin. The decade saw rising metal prices, inflationary pressures, and increased public attention on coin composition. Just a few years after the 1975 issue, the U.S. Mint changed the cents alloy further during the early 1980s when copper prices soared. This historical shift makes the 1975 cent part of a larger narrative about how everyday currency responded to broader economic forces. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often seek completed date and mint mark sets, requiring examples from Philadelphia, Denver and, starting in 1955, San Francisco proof issues. The 1975 cent is an essential component of these sets, and collectors are aware that the quality and variety of their example can dramatically affect the set's overall appeal and value. Many pursue registry sets through third-party grading programs, competing to assemble the finest known examples of every date and variety. Today's market for these coins reflects both general interest in Lincoln cents and specific enthusiasm for error and variety coins. In coin shows, online marketplaces, and auction houses, the 1975 cent commands attention proportionate to its condition and attributes. A coin with significant doubling, a strong repunched mint mark, a dramatic planchet error, or exceptional condition attracts bidders who understand both the rarity and the visual interest. Even among novices who are new to coin collecting thanks to social media and online videos, interest in rare pennies remains strong. The idea that a penny from one's pocket could be worth far more than its face value resonates with many people, though it is important to distinguish true mint errors from common circulation wear or damage. In summary, the 1975 Lincoln 1 cent remains a fascinating coin within the broader landscape of American numismatics. Its everyday appearance masks a deeper world of minting subtleties, die varieties, and error possibilities that can elevate interest and market value. While most examples remain common and valued only for face value or modest collector interest, select specimens exhibiting repunched mint marks, planchet errors, die cracks and exceptional condition have achieved significant premiums in the marketplace. For the curious collector or the history-minded viewer, understanding the story of this coin offers insight into how something as small as a penny can reflect advanced minting technologies, human craftsmanship, economic forces, and the passionate community that studies every nuance of American coinage. My dears, if you hold a small copper coin between your fingers and look into the camera, you say, have you ever wondered how something as ordinary and overlooked as a 1-cent piece could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? What if I told you that someone just like you could be walking around with a coin worth far more than its face value, and that all it takes is a single glance, a magnifying glass, and a closer look at the history behind it? Now, we're going to explore the fascinating story of one of the most surprising coins in United States numismatics, the Liberty 1 cent 1986 Lincoln penny, how it came into being, why most are just pennies, and why some rare specimens can command extraordinary sums in today's collector markets. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor America's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, became an instant symbol of everyday American life. Before 1909, the 1-cent coin bore allegorical representations of liberty, but no historical figure had ever appeared on the face of the coin. The decision to feature Lincoln was not simply artistic. It was also a reflection of Lincoln's enduring legacy as a unifying force in American history, and his presence on the coin served as a reminder of the values of freedom and unity that he championed. Over the decades that followed, the design evolved slightly, but Lincoln's image remained constant, making the cent one of the longest continually produced coin designs in U.S. history. By the year 1986, the Lincoln cent was part of everyday commerce. Billions of pennies were made, used, saved, lost, jarred, and ultimately spent again. In most hands, a 1986 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, no matter how shiny or worn it appears. You could use it to make exact change at the grocery store and no cashier would give it a second thought. Most are thrown into piggy banks by children or dropped loose into coin jars at home, but like many years in the Lincoln cent series, 1986 produced more than ordinary coins. It also produced a variety of errors, anomalies, and mint mark peculiarities that have drawn the attention of collectors and speculators. These are not errors in the everyday sense of the word but specific minting irregularities that occurred during the coin fabrication process. When certain types of mistakes happen, and a coin with such an error survives in good enough condition, it can be genuinely rare and collectible. The market value of such coins can be vastly different from that trivial 1-cent face value. To understand why errors occur, and why they matter so much to collectors, you first need a basic understanding of how coins are made. Each coin begins its life as a flat, round metal blank called a planchet. In 1986 the composition of the Lincoln cent was a bronze alloy composed primarily of copper with a small percentage of tin and zinc. This made the penny heavier and more copper-rich than later pennies struck after 1982, which were mostly zinc with a thin layer of copper plating. The planchet is fed into a high-speed coining press where it is squeezed between two engraved steel dies under immense pressure. One die carries the obverse design Lincoln's portrait and the date, while the reverse shows the United States shield, wheat stalks, or some other emblem appropriate to the era. Ideally, every blank enters the press perfectly centered between the dies and emerges as a flawless coin. But minting machinery operates at incredible speed, producing millions of coins every day, and even the most advanced systems are subject to human oversight, mechanical wear, variations in metal tension, and countless other tiny influences that can result in a misshapen, off-center, doubled, clipped, or otherwise flawed coin. Most flawed coins are caught and removed by quality control, but some still slip through and enter circulation, where they may sit unnoticed for decades. Collectors prize these irregularities, not because they are imperfections but because they are rare deviations from what should have been normal. In the numismatic market, the value of a coin is driven by rarity, demand, and condition. A common 1986 Lincoln penny without any unusual features has a huge population and therefore almost no collector premium. Its value remains face value plus a small numismatic premium only if it is in near perfect uncirculated condition. But the rare examples that bear striking errors or unusual characteristics are a different story, and their value reflects both the scarcity of such coins and the enthusiasm of collectors. One of the most well-known categories of mint error is double die coins. A double die error occurs not during the striking of the coin itself but during the creation of the die that will be used to strike coins. If a die receives more than one impression of the design, often misaligned even slightly, then every coin that die strikes will show a doubling effect in some parts of the design. This doubling may appear in the date numerals, in lettering such as Liberty, or in mottos like "In God We Trust." In other years, dramatic double dies have produced some of the most valuable error coins in American numismatics. The 1955 double die cent is a famous example, where strong doubling on the date and lettering can make that coin worth thousands of dollars. In the case of 1986 Lincoln pennies, genuine double die varieties do exist, but they are typically subtler than the most iconic examples from earlier decades. When authenticated, however, even these subtler double dies are worth significantly more than 1 cent, sometimes reaching dozens or in rare cases hundreds of dollars, depending on the strength of the doubling and the surface preservation of the coin. Another common minting irregularity is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet is not properly aligned under the dies and the strike lands partially off the blank. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted toward one edge. These errors vary widely. Slight off-center strikes might be only a few millimeters off and may not be particularly desirable. But as the degree of off-centerness increases, so does the collector interest. A coin that is dramatically off-center but still retains a fully readable date and legible elements may be worth tens or even hundreds of dollars. The value increases further if the off-center strike is combined with other features such as attractive surfaces or strong luster. Clipped planchets are another error type found in the 1986 Lincoln cent series. As blanks are punched from strips of metal, occasionally part of the planchet is improperly cut or clipped away due to mechanical misfeeds or malfunctioning blanking equipment. The result is a coin with a missing curved section. Clipped planchet errors can be quite dramatic and are relatively easy to spot with the naked eye. The value of a clipped planchet penny depends on the size and location of the clip and the overall condition of the coin. Some clipped planchet 1986 Lincoln cents command prices well above face, especially in uncirculated grades. Coins struck on the wrong planchet known as off-metal errors are rare but highly prized. In minting facilities, blank planchets intended for different denominations are stored and fed into presses. If a penny blank mistakenly gets mixed with planchets for another denomination like a dime or nickel, and then enters a cent press, the resulting coin will be made of the wrong metal and may be the wrong size. A 1986 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet would be a small silver-colored coin with Lincoln's design, creating an immediate curiosity. Such errors are rare because detection systems typically catch them early, but examples have surfaced and, when confirmed, command significant premiums because of their novelty and extreme rarity. Coins struck on foreign planchets or incorrect alloys are in a league of rarity where dedicated collectors will pay substantial figures to own them. Errors can also occur in the mint mark application. In 1986, coins bore mint marks identifying the facility where they were struck, typically AD for the Denver Mint or AP for the Philadelphia Mint. Mistakes in mint mark placement or doubling of the mint mark can produce varieties of interest. During the 1980s, mint marks were applied by machinery rather than by hand, reducing but not eliminating the possibility of mint mark errors. Coins with repunched mint marks can show ghosting or doubling of the mint mark area, and while such errors are typically less dramatic than off-center strikes or major planchet errors, they are collectible examples and can carry modest premiums if authenticated. More subtle mistakes including die cracks, cuds, weak strikes, die chips, and die deterioration produce minor varieties that are attractive to specialists and can add modest premiums over face value. A die crack appears when a minting die develops a crack through repeated use. The crack is transferred into the surface of every coin struck thereafter, producing a raised line where the metal filled the crack as the planchet was struck. On a 1986 Lincoln cent, a die crack across Lincoln's shoulder, through the date, or on the reverse shield can make that coin a candidate for a minor variety listing. These varieties are not as rare as dramatic errors, and their premiums are modest, but they are still appreciated by collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents. Another fascinating aspect of coin collecting involves die states. As dies are used, they change subtly over time. A die that is new and fresh will strike a coin with crisp, clear details. As that die wears down over thousands of strikes, the design details may soften, edges may blur slightly, and certain features become less distinct. Collectors sometimes seek different die states of the same date and mint mark because variations in the dies can produce distinct visual differences that help document the minting process. While die state examples usually do not produce huge premiums unless combined with other error types, they are a subject of interest for advanced numismatists and can make a set more complete. Condition or grade also plays a major role in value. Most 1986 Lincoln cents are common and show wear from circulation. A worn circulated example is typically worth face value unless it has an error that makes it collectible. But pennies that avoided circulation and have retained their original luster, sharp details, and unblemished surfaces are termed uncirculated or mint state. Within mint state, coins may show varying degrees of quality. A coin graded mint state 60 ms60 is uncirculated but may show numerous minor contact marks or dull luster. A coin graded ms65 or higher is better preserved, with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal marks. In the broader coin market, higher grade examples of common dates often command steady premiums because collectors prefer coins that show as little wear as possible. Even common 1986 Lincoln cents in top uncirculated grades can sell for dollar amounts far higher than 1 cent. The overlap between error and condition creates the most valuable specimens. For example, a dramatic off-center strike on a 1986 Lincoln penny that is also in superb uncirculated condition can be extremely desirable. A bold double die that has escaped circulation and shows strong surfaces can command collector competition at auctions. Major off-metal errors with high surface quality and strong eye appeal are among the most prized finds and often represent the pinnacle of value in the series. Against this backdrop of errors, varieties, mint marks, and condition differences, the broader question remains: what are these coins worth today? The short answer is that the market value depends entirely on the particular coin. A random ordinary 1986 Lincoln cent you find in circulation is still worth 1 cent. In rolled coins from banks or jars of change, it is equally likely to be worth only face value unless inspected closely for error characteristics. When a dealer or collector sees a coin that appears unusual, whether because of doubling, misalignment, clipping, off-center striking, or odd metal color, they may place it aside for further examination. With verification and authentication, the coin's worth can shift dramatically. Certified crypto-graded examples of error coins that have been authenticated and slabbed by professional grading services have sold at public auction for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Prices vary by error type, rarity, and collector demand at that moment. A dramatic off-center strike that still shows a clear date and strong surfaces may command a high premium. A rare double die with striking clarity can draw serious interest. A coin struck on the wrong planchet because of its extreme rarity may be worth more than most other errors combined. Coins with only minor mint mark doubling or small die cracks may be worth modest premiums, but they still outstrip the coin's face value. The market for collectible coins is global and dynamic. Prices can fluctuate based on collector interest, economic conditions, and how many certified examples exist for a given error or variety. Some coins that were once worth modest premiums decades ago have appreciated as examples became scarcer and collector awareness increased. Similarly, a coin that was once obscure may become more valuable as numismatists document a particular variety and highlight its significance in reference guides. Many collectors start their journey by sorting through pocket change or rolls from banks. They look for coins that seem different, perhaps the date looks strange, the lettering appears doubled, or the coin appears misaligned. With practice, collectors learn to spot subtle errors that others overlook. Some save pennies that appear unusually shiny or unblemished in hopes they might be high-grade uncirculated examples. Others focus specifically on error coins, cataloging differences and researching their rarity and market value. The story of the 1986 Lincoln penny, ordinary in the vast majority of examples, yet extraordinary in its rare error forms, reflects a broader truth about coin collecting. What appears mundane at first glance can hide deep historical and economic significance. Every coin struck reflects a moment in manufacturing history, from the dies chosen to strike it, to the way the planchet was fed, to the human oversight that allowed certain anomalies to slip through quality control. These quirks allow collectors to connect with the past in tangible ways and give everyday objects a second life in museums, collections, and auctions. So if you find a 1986 penny today in your pocket or pocket change, don't be too quick to dismiss it. Most are worth only 1 cent, but among them may hide a surprise: a rare double die, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, an unusual mint mark, or even an off-metal anomaly that tells the story of a moment when the minting process went off script. And for those rare finds in high condition, the collector market can assign values that dwarf the coin's humble denomination. In the world of numismatics, even a simple penny can be a treasure waiting to be discovered, appreciated, and valued well beyond its face value. Imagine grabbing your pocket change or opening a dusty old jar and finding a seemingly ordinary penny, only to discover that this tiny piece of metal could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Imagine the surprise and excitement of holding in your hand what was once just 1 cent of small change, now transformed into a rare collectible because of a subtle mistake, an intriguing mint mark quirk, or a remarkable error in the minting process. What if that penny came from 1991 with a small D stamp from the Denver Mint, yet contained hidden clues that make it extremely valuable to the right collector? This is a story about such a coin, a story about the Liberty 1 cent 1991 D Lincoln penny, its history, its journey through circulation, the errors that can turn it into a treasure, and the current market that places values on coins far above the face value we all take for granted. The story of the Lincoln cent begins long before 1991. Back in 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a new design to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner's iconic profile of Lincoln was chosen for the obverse, bringing a recognizable American symbol into everyday commerce. This was a bold departure from earlier allegorical designs and immediately endeared the coin to the public. For decades the penny was struck in mostly bronze composition, its reverse featuring wheat stalks until 1958, later replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparo. Over the years, this humble 1 cent piece became the most widely held and circulated coin in American currency, with billions produced and passed from pocket to pocket, register to register, day after day. By 1991, the Lincoln penny had undergone several changes in composition and design detail. Following rising metal costs in the early 1980s, the mint switched the cent from a predominantly copper coin to a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change meant that coins minted after 1982, including the 1991 Lincoln cents, were lighter and made from 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating. The Denver Mint, designated with a small d below the date on the obverse, produced approximately 4,158,442,076 pieces of the 1991 D Lincoln cent, making it a very common coin in terms of production numbers. Because so many were made, most 1991 D pennies seen in circulation today are worth only their face value, serving daily transactions and ending up in rolls, jars, coin collections, and forgotten change bowls across the country. But where ordinary pennies are common, rare and unusual pennies stand out. A seemingly regular 1991 D penny can draw intense interest when it shows abnormalities that occurred during the minting process. Coins are struck at incredible speed by massive presses, and although quality control is stringent, mistakes can happen. These mistakes are captured permanently in the metal and can create variations that numismatists and collectors prize highly. Some of the most sought-after varieties and errors come from issues such as double dies, die cracks and chips, mint mark irregularities, planchet problems, off-center strikes, and other manufacturing anomalies. These flaws may seem small or subtle to the untrained eye, but to an experienced collector they tell a story about the minting process, the era in which the coin was struck, and the unique nature of that piece. One of the most talked about error types for Lincoln cents is the double die. A double die error occurs when the die itself has been impressed with the coin's design more than once, slightly misaligned during hubbing. As a result, coins struck from that die will show doubling of letters or design elements. On the 1991 D penny, a double die reverse error is known to produce extra visual elements on the Lincoln Memorial's columns or doubling in the inscriptions such as United States of America and 1 cent. These double die reverse varieties are classic examples of minting mistakes that can elevate a coin's value significantly. Some versions of these errors, when graded at mint state condition, have been noted to sell in the hundreds of dollars range in auctions and dealer markets, far higher than the typical 1 cent value. Another type of interesting anomaly arises from what collectors call the BIE, die chip error. In this case, a small piece of the die breaks or chips, leaving a raised blob of metal on the struck coin, particularly between the letters B and E of Liberty on the obverse. This creates what looks like an extra letter I between B and E, so that Liberty reads almost like BIE. Such errors are caused by the stresses of striking and the die's eventual deterioration. These coins are widely collected and, though not as valuable as some double die varieties, they still carry more value than a regular circulated penny. Other errors like rim and off-center strikes occur when the planchet isn't perfectly aligned in the press or when foreign objects interrupt the striking process. These can produce coins with missing design elements, uneven rims, or unusual impressions that are rare enough to attract collector attention and command premiums. Perhaps the most dramatic error types are those involving planchet issues. Planchets are the blank discs fed into the coining press. On rare occasions, a penny planchet can be struck without proper copper plating, resulting in what appears to be a silvery zinc cent. In some cases these are truly mint errors where the plating was never correctly applied, although often coins might appear silvery because of wear or environmental effects after they've been in circulation. True mint error zinc planchet pennies, especially from specific years, can be collectible and fetch solid sums on the market. Additionally, other wrong planchet strikes, such as pennies struck on planchets intended for other denominations or foreign coins, are extremely rare and highly prized by error collectors. These anomalies are a testament to the complex nature of mass coin production and the tiny windows of opportunity that errors can present. The condition of the coin plays an equally important role in its value. Coins that have been heavily worn through circulation, showing faded detail and surface scratches, remain common and generally worth only face value to those building basic date and mint mark collections. However, when a coin is found in uncirculated condition exhibiting sharp detail, original mint luster, and minimal handling marks, its value can rise dramatically. Professional grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company assign numerical grades from 1 to 70 based on condition, eye appeal, strike quality, and other factors. A 1991 D Lincoln cent graded MS-65 or higher is uncommon relative to the millions produced, and coins in the MS-67 or MS-68 range are especially rare. According to market data, a 1991 D Lincoln cent in MS-68 condition can bring over $100, and specimens graded MS-69 have been known to sell in the thousands of dollars range in auctions, particularly if they retain their original red color designation indicating untoned surfaces that show the penny's original bright copper look. Variants such as red, red-brown, and brown also influence value. Red coins retain the bright original copper coloration from the mint and are typically more desirable than brown coins, which have circulated and toned over time. Red-brown coins fall in between, showing some original color mixed with tone. Collectors will often pay more for a fully red specimen in high grade because it indicates minimal handling and superior preservation. Since minting, collectors also study mint mark placement and subtle varieties that may arise from different die pairs. Although the 1991 D mint mark itself is a clear designation of production at Denver, the minute details of how that mark appears, its position relative to the date, the depth and clarity of the punch, slight rotations, or repunching can be diagnostic features for specialized variety collectors. Coins with exceedingly unusual or confirmed repunched mint marks documented by reference guides become part of focused collections and can fetch premiums above standard examples of the same issue. All these factors combine to make the 1991 D. Lincoln penny an intriguing subject for collectors and history lovers alike. Though this coin type is extremely common in general circulation, most carrying only a face value of 1 cent, the presence of specific errors, exceptional grades, rare varieties, and historical interest can drive values far above that nominal amount. While typical coins in worn condition may be worth just a cent or a few cents to a collector, uncirculated and error specimens have transformed ordinary pieces into objects of considerable market value. Among collectors, the thrill of finding a valuable penny from everyday change, a coin once used to buy a candy bar or pay a toll, remains one of the pure joys of numismatics. This blend of history, craft, chance, and economics draws people to study and collect these coins, searching through rolls and jars to find the next hidden gem, from the massive output of billions of 1991 D. Lincoln cents to the extremely few that exhibit noteworthy mint errors or high grades. The journey of this coin from circulation to collector showcases how a seemingly mundane piece of currency can become a prized collectible. Whether you are inspecting your pocket change, sorting through an old collection, or just learning about the fascinating quirks of coin minting, knowing what makes these pennies valuable adds depth to our appreciation of everyday objects. So the next time someone sets aside a small jar of pennies, it's worth taking a closer look at each coin, because among them might be a remarkable 1991 D. Lincoln penny with a story worth far more than its face value. My very respectable friends, if you opening a dusty jar of old coins or sorting through the change in your wallet and spotting a penny from 2006. At first glance it's ordinary, a small copper-colored disc worth just a single cent in everyday transactions. But what if I told you that some of these seemingly mundane coins could be worth far more than their face value because of mistakes made during minting, errors that slipped past quality control, and hidden varieties that make collectors and numismatists pay attention? Picture holding in your hand a 2006 Lincoln penny that could be worth tens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars to the right buyer because of a doubling error on the design, an off-center strike, a planchet error, a strange mint mark oddity, or some other rare anomaly. This is not just pocket change, it is a tiny piece of history and a fascinating example of how something as simple as a penny can become an object of desire and significant monetary value. Now, we explore the full story of the Liberty 1 cent 2006 Lincoln penny from the United States, the history of its production, how errors are formed, what makes some examples valuable today, and why collectors search through change bags and coin rolls to find these hidden treasures. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage for more than a century. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse shows Lincoln's profile facing right, a design that departed from the more allegorical imagery used on earlier small-denomination coins. Collectors and the public alike embraced the new cent, and it quickly became everyday currency, crossing hands in countless transactions. Originally struck in a bronze alloy, the Lincoln cent's composition changed over the decades in response to economic forces, with a major shift occurring in 1982 when rising copper prices led the United States Mint to switch to a copper-plated zinc composition. By the time 2006 rolled around, every Lincoln cent from that year was made from a core of zinc with a thin plating of copper, giving it the familiar color while dramatically reducing the cost of production. The year 2006 was unremarkable for the Mint in terms of the Lincoln cent's basic design or composition, but it offers a great example of the interplay between everyday circulation coins and the rarer, more valuable error coins that excite collectors and investors. In total, billions of Lincoln cents were produced in 2006 across several mint facilities. The Denver Mint, identified by a small D mint mark below the date on the obverse, struck a massive number of these coins, and under normal circumstances most of these are worth only their face value, circulating widely in change and daily commerce. Standard 2060 Lincoln pennies in average circulated condition are so common that they are worth about 1 cent each, and even uncirculated examples without notable errors might bring only a few dollars in collector circuit simply because so many were made and so many still exist. Yet within this huge population of coins, unusual and rare examples occur because of how coins are manufactured. Every coin begins as a blank metal disc called a planchet. At the Mint, a planchet is fed into a coining press where two hardened steel dies stamp the design with tremendous force. The obverse die has Lincoln's image and inscriptions, while the reverse die features the Lincoln Memorial that was standard on cents from 1959 to 2008. When everything works perfectly, a crisp set of images and lettering is applied to both sides of the planchet. But the minting process is not infallible. On some occasions, planchets are not properly seated, dies shift slightly, punches are misaligned, or foreign material interferes with the strike. These irregularities create mint errors and varieties that can significantly affect a coin's value. One of the most dramatic and collectible error types from the 2006 Lincoln Cent series is the double die. This error occurs not on the coins themselves but during the creation of the dies. Dies are made by impressing a hub master tool with the coin's design into blank steel multiple times to create the working die. If the hub and die are misaligned during one of these impressions, the design elements on the die will be slightly doubled. Coins struck from that die will show this doubling as well. The result can be a coin where letters or parts of the image appear duplicated or shadowed. For the 2006 Lincoln Cents, collectors have documented at least two specific double die obverse varieties known as FS101 and FS102, which show visible doubling on elements of the obverse design such as the inscription Liberty, the date, or even parts of Lincoln's profile. Collectors prize these double die coins because they represent clear and identifiable mistakes that distinguish them from the mass of ordinary cents. In some cases, quality double die coins from 2006 have sold at auction for over $1,000 when authenticated and graded in high conditions. A double die error is just one variety. Other errors occur when the coin blank is not struck exactly on center. Off-center strikes happen when the planchet isn't properly aligned inside the collar of the coining press. A slight misalignment may result in part of the coin's design shifted to one side, leaving an incomplete impression and a blank crescent on the opposite edge. The more off-center the strike, the more dramatic the result and the more valuable the coin can be, especially if the date remains fully visible. Off-center Lincoln Cents from 2006, particularly those with a high percentage of misalignment, have been known to sell for hundreds of dollars. These coins are valuable because they visibly demonstrate a mechanical irregularity that most penny issues do not exhibit. Another intriguing category of errors comes from planchet issues or mistakes during the striking process. Double-struck errors occur when a planchet fails to eject from the press after the first strike and is struck again while still in the press. A double-struck cent often displays overlapping images, with Lincoln's profile and the memorial repeated in ghost-like fashion. These coins can be dramatic to look at and are highly sought after by collectors. Retained strike-through errors are another fascinating type. These occur when a foreign object, such as a piece of wire, grease or debris, becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. The object leaves a raised impression or distortion on the surface, and in some rare instances remains adhered to the coin, creating a strange and unique appearance that collectors value. Yet another class of errors includes die cap mint errors and lamination errors. Die cap errors arise when a planchet sticks to the die after being struck and continues to strike other planchets, gradually forming a cap-like deformity that resembles a cup or hollowed shape. These errors are rare and appeal to collectors who specialize in unusual mint mishaps because each one is unique in shape and appearance. Lamination errors happen when the metal layers of the planchet separate during striking or handling, producing coins with bubbling, peeling, or cracked surfaces. Some of these error types, when dramatic and intact, have fetched over $1,000 at auction. Aside from these dramatic classifications, there are also more subtle but still collectible anomalies such as repunched mint marks. In earlier decades when mint marks were hand-punched into the dies, it was possible for an engraver to punch the mint mark more than once, slightly offset from the first impression. While by 2006 most mint mark application processes were mechanized, some slight variations can still occur, and repunched mint marks on 2060 Lincoln Cents, when clear and cataloged, can bring premiums over standard examples. These varieties often require magnification and comparison to reference images for identification, but serious collectors track them carefully. It is crucial to distinguish genuine mint errors and varieties from normal wear, damage, or post-mint alterations. Many coins may appear to have odd surface features or misaligned details due to circulation wear, cleaning, corrosion, or damage after leaving the mint. These do not add real numismatic value and are usually worth only face value or a small premium to someone interested in quirky coins. Genuine mint errors, on the other hand, occurred during the creation of the coin and were never meant to be part of the design. Authentication by professionals and consultation of official guides or databases is important before assuming a coin is valuable. Collectors also pay significant attention to a coin's condition, often graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A 2006 Lincoln cent in average circulated condition with worn surfaces and faded detail is common and worth only about 1 cent in everyday transactions, though it may have some small value to someone completing a date and mint mark set. Coins with sharp detail and bright original surfaces that have never been in circulation can be graded in the mint state range, and those examples can sell for more in collector venues. Some uncirculated 2006 pennies graded MS-65 or higher have been reported to bring several $100s or more, particularly when combined with notable errors and full original red color that reflects the copper plating's untoned state. It's important to understand the difference between the coin's face value and its market value. The face value of a penny 1 cent reflects its worth as legal tender. In everyday transactions this is all it is used for, and the vast majority of 2006 Lincoln cents will remain in circulation for years, changing hands and paying for small purchases. But the collector market for coins operates on a different set of principles where rarity, error classification, demand, and condition determine what a coin is worth. A cent with a dramatic mint error may be worth hundreds or even more, not because it can be spent as currency at that value, but because a collector is willing to pay a premium to own that piece of numismatic history. The current market for 2006 Lincoln pennies reflects these dual worlds. Ordinary circulated coins are plentiful and have negligible value beyond face. Uncirculated but standard coins may bring modest sums to specialized collectors. Error and variety coins, when authenticated and well preserved, can fetch significant prices depending on the rarity and desirability of the error type. Double die obverse coins from 2006 have sold at auction for more than $1,000 in high grades, and other error types such as die cap, off-center strikes, double strikes, or unique strike-through examples have sold in similar ranges as collectors compete to add these rarities to their holdings. Collectors approach 2006 Lincoln cents with a systematic eye, examining features under magnification, comparing against known error guides, and assessing condition carefully. A tiny variation can mean the difference between a common, everyday penny and a collectible worth far more than its face value. While some error types are well documented and widely recognized, others remain rare or newly discovered, sparking excitement when they surface. Numismatic publications, online databases, coin forums, dealer expertise, and auction records all contribute to an ongoing understanding of what makes certain 2006 pennies valuable, from production and circulation to error detection and market value. The story of the 2006 Lincoln cent shows how a seemingly ordinary piece of currency can have layers of significance beyond everyday use. The humble penny connects us not only to economic history and the life of Abraham Lincoln but also to the technical processes of coin manufacture and the human fascination with rarity and discovery. Whether tucked away in an old coin jar, found in pocket change, or displayed proudly in a collector's case, these coins remind us that even the smallest objects can hold great value when viewed with an informed and curious eye. So if you ever happen upon a 2006 Lincoln penny with unusual features, it may be worth a closer look, for it could be one of those hidden gems that transform spare change into numismatic treasure.